tuning in. Thank you for tuning in to ALH and NYC. The film is Blue, starring Don Wallace and Daya, Vaidya, and they've been gracious enough to visit us here, come by and talk about the film. It is a thrilling film, a tale that everyone in America and across genres and cultures can relate to. It's a tale of struggle, a tale of redemption, a great heart-rending story that was written by Mr. Don Wallace. And what's interesting, I think, also, is that everyone that I've spoken to in association with this film has nothing but the highest regard for you as an actor, as a professional, as someone who, in more than one different way, everyone said once they sat down and talked to you that they knew you were going to make this film. Almost like whether they were a part of it or not, you were going to get it done. And for me, that was kind of like, you know, so is Blue more of art imitating life, or is it life imitating art? Because the same determination is in Gary Blue, you know, Meekin's character.
Blue is art imitating life.
Okay.
A very real story.
Yeah, very real.
Yeah, it's real.
Well, that takes me to a question that I had when I saw the movie, and in the very beginning, it says, based on true events. Mm-hmm. You've been in the industry for years.
Yeah.
Why at this stage in your career did you want to go back and resurrect this story for yourself? Right. What was it you wanted to give back and communicate?
You know, I think that a lot of people put a judgment on a lot of people in the urban communities and in the hood, quote unquote, whatever that means. But I wanted to tell my story because you got, you know, guys like Jay-Z, Wade Barrow, Steve Stout, all these guys that come out of the same place that I'm from. Right. And they're successful people of color. And the list goes on. I don't even have to name all these guys, but like all these people, rather. But I wanted to show the world, but I'll take you back. When I wrote the script, a few people were telling me, well, guys in the hood don't recite poetry. They're not interested in this. And I'm like, you ain't from the hood. I am. Right. So what do you know?
Say that.
You know what I mean? And I feel like when you root everything out, these people are humans. And it doesn't matter where you're from. You can still have an interest or a passion for something or a love for something because we're human beings. And we're exposed to whatever we're exposed to, and we find a love for it or whatever. And I felt so strongly about where I come from and the people that I grew up with, because those same people who I grew up with, who might still be in my own neighborhood, they made me the person I am today. Yes. And I owe this to them. Right? I owe this to every person from every urban community who's struggled, who's overcome obstacles, who've been through a hard time. They deserve to be acknowledged. They deserve to have hope. They deserve to have their stories told and let the world understand that I don't care if you're in Hollywood Hills or if you're in the slums of Jamaica, Queens. It doesn't matter. You're people. You're human beings. And when it's all said and done, you know better than anybody else. Right. And that's why I'm so passionate about Blue, because Blue is not my story. It's our story.
Right. Right.
You know?
Yeah, and that comes across very, I don't think anyone could coin it any better, because I think what carried me through the film was I saw myself in Gary Blue Meekins. I saw anybody who's striving for anything in their life has been through, and someone has told them, like the one scene with the first girlfriend, do
Crystal.
something else.
Yeah.
This is not going to work, right? And then you have a character like Carmen. She is, in my estimation, Carmen was looking so much for her identity that she settled to find it anywhere she could, even at the expense of her emotional well-being, at the expense of her physical well-being. Right. And so in terms of, I guess the next question then naturally is, in terms of the chemistry, the working chemistry between you two, the scenes, there was the intimate scenes, which, were what they were, right? Okay.
Yeah,
right?
They were.
Yeah, right. And in terms of what place, because in one scene, you know, you're this hardened, you know, you're looking at him, he asks you how you're doing, and you slam the door in his face.
Right.
And a few scenes later, right, there's this softness that comes to you. Now, you being a woman who has seen some things in your life, if Carmen were real, how do you think Carmen went from that dark place? And how can other women of color, right, in relation to how it happened in the movie, how can other women of color go from that dark place and find that softness that is naturally, that soft strength is what I'll call it, that Carmen exemplified in the movie, that Don so wonderfully wrote?
I think for Carmen's character, and for her, it was the kids, the children. That was the hook for her. And everybody has to have a hook that gives them hope.
Awesome.
Every single person. That's what it takes. Because when you're in despair, you need hope. So that keeps you going.
Right.
And whatever it is, everyone's hope is different.
Right.
Carmen's hope were children. She loved children. And I knew that. That was some stuff was in the script that didn't always get onto the screen, but there was some backstory. You know, she loved, you know, that's why she went in and she said, I know how, I may be in the, you know, depths of all this crap right now, but I know how to reach children.
Right.
She was confident, at least right there.
Right.
And I think that translates to anybody who's watching that movie. If you're in a bad place, there's always something, even if it's a little one thing you're confident about in your life. Something. It could be dogs. It could be the way you are with an elderly person. I don't care what it is, something you're good at and that you feel good about yourself. Tap into that.
Excellent.
Tap into that and figure out how can you use that and make it bigger.
Excellent.
So that it can either support you financially or it can help other people, and that will make you feel better. She says in the movie, essentially, she's like, what's the worst thing you've ever done?
Right, yes.
Right? And she says, well, I always think of something that I do good and it makes me feel better. And he's like, that's silly. And she goes, no, it works.
Right.
You start thinking better and you start doing nice things, kinder things, it changes the way you feel about yourself. So for her, I think, if you recall before, I don't want to give away the movie, but essentially she starts working with the children. And that's when the change happens to where she can then let him in. Because you can't let love in until you put love out.
Right.
Whoa. Y'all just ponder on that for 2 seconds. Can't get love in
Unless you put love out.
Wow.
Period. Ever.
Awesome.
That was good.
Yeah.
The part that hit me the most with Carmen as a character was the boyfriend she has before Blue. Now, it's intense, it's violent. There's a scene with you in the mirror, and you're looking at your face after an incident, and there was a look in your eye which was very clearly portrayed that I could hear the words in my head. This is not happening anymore. You know, and so
I think we actually had those lines, and the lines were cut out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Not in that actual dialogue, but
Close to that. It was around that.
close to around that.
It was intense, huh?
Yeah.
Stay tuned. 30, 45 seconds. We'll be right back. Thank you again. ALH and NYC here with the stars of the hit film Blue, Don Wallace and Daya. We'll be right back.